Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome. Good morning to a breaking news special. In a few short seconds, I'll be joined by Gary Corp. He's president and CEO of Barsele Minerals, and they had some exciting news come out this morning. We interviewed Gary about 4 months ago here on SF Live, and we talked about the Barsele project in Sweden, and there's news out now about the project. They are acquiring the remaining 55% from Agnico Eagle, and we're going to talk to Gary about all those details about the deal. What are they acquiring? What are the terms? And more about that. He's going to give us some more color and why it is a positive news event this morning. But before we do that, of course, you know the drill. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We do all our interviews live, and make sure to use that bell notification as well, because that way you do get notified when we go live with another update. Make sure to use that. It's to your advantage. Now, without further ado, let me switch over to our guest and welcome Mr. Gary Corp. Gary, thanks for joining us this morning. How are you?
I'm really good, Kai, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, exciting news out this morning, so it's great to have you on. And before we dive into the news, as I said, you're buying the remaining 55% of the Barsele project in Sweden from Agnico. Give us just a quick recap, like Barsele Minerals, and what are you buying?
Well, we're buying Agnico Eagle's 55% of the project. We already own 45, so this will get us 100% of the project. We're going to get into the terms, but Agnico insisted on a share structure where they own 15% or 14.9% of Barsele when the deal is done.
Yeah, and run us through, like, before we dive into details, like how much you're paying for it. Give us just a quick overview of the project itself. What are you acquiring there? What has been done there in the past?
The project is a combination gold and VMS. It's got both styles of mineralization. The resource is the big one. It's what we're buying. Is currently at 2.41 million ounces indicated and inferred, roughly just under 3 grams, and easily expandable. So I guess you could say, what are we buying? We're buying 1.3 million ounces that is attributable to Agnico's ownership.
And that resource calculation at 2.4, what is that based on? Like, what's the historic data? Because I know Agnico almost exclusively worked on that project in the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, it's an independent 43-101 that was done by a company in Quebec. And like I say, Agnico added, since they've come on, has added over 1 million ounces.
Fantastic. And run us through the deal terms now, of course. Now we established, okay, you're buying the remaining ounces from Agnico, of course. Run us through the deal terms. What are we looking at?
Well, it's 45 million US in cash and 14.9% of the outstanding at the close of the deal of Barsele shares. Agnico also gets a 2% NSR, which half of it can be bought back for 15 million US. And they also have a bonus structure as the deposit grows, where they would receive $2.5 million on every million ounces that it grows. And but that's not payable until 10 years down the road, or a change in control, or a production decision. So the chances of us having to pay that is probably almost zero. And but it'll be factored into the final. When we sell the project to a miner.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Of course, what are you inheriting, like, from Agnico? What are they like? And it sounds negative. It's like weird, but like, are you getting the team on the ground as well? Like, who are you getting? What are you getting for that money?
We insisted on getting the team. It was extremely important. I mean, it's a first-class exploration team with 4 or 5 geologists and technical expertise. We get the office, we get the incredible facility that Agnico had outfitted, as far as having assay labs and huge core storage right in the town. So, we can go into the deposit, and one of the huge advantages of this deposit is its location and infrastructure is just second to none in the world.
No, it's extremely important for me as well to see that you're taking that team on. That means you can actually hit the ground running once that transaction completes or is done with. I think that's really important. We're going to talk about, like, what next steps are in a second. I just have a couple more questions about the deal terms that I saw when I saw the press release. So the vendor take-back note of $45 million, like, give us a bit more color. What does that look like, and what does that mean?
Well, it's actually 15 million, Kai. in the case that we go out and talk to the lenders out there, and we're raising the 45 million US, and we couldn't find 45 million, Agnico is willing to, as long as we find 30, to do a vendor take back of 15 million with the terms you'll see in the news release, or you saw in the news release.
Okay, perfect. That shows support. That shows trust that they're doing that. Fantastic.
They've been a great partner. I mean, we have nothing but great things to say about Agnico, and we have a lot of respect for the work they've done, and they have a lot of respect still for the deposit. That's why they insisted on remaining a big part of the growth of it.
Yeah, I think now is the moment to sort of speculate with you, like why Agnico is, it's like dropping the project. I wouldn't even call it dropping, but like why are they willing to let go of it at this point in time?
It's a company of internal riches. It's their focus, I think most people would agree, has been on Nunavut and Quebec, and although they have other mines in other jurisdictions, I think a bulk of their exploration dollars is headed that direction. Each project manager in Agnico fights over their allocation. We were basically down to $2 or $3 million a year, and we just saw an opportunity to be able to double or triple that and bring the project to pre-feas a lot quicker.
Oh, that makes sense. Just coming back to the deal terms real quick, you will be issuing shares to Agnico Eagle. They're going to go to become a 14.9% shareholder, which also shows support. But also there's an existing NSR, just real quick, like yes, it comes to fruition later on, only when it goes into production. But you're granting a 2% NSR to Agnico, but there was already a 2% NSR. Can you just clarify what is happening to that existing 2%?
Yeah, that 2% NSR is owned by Oryx Minerals, one of our sister companies, and it will be extinguished. It'll never ever be you can't keep it and use it. It will be extinguished, and there's a process in the contract for doing that.
All right, perfect. So it's not going to be a 4%; it's going to be 2% on the project moving forward. Of which I think 1% can be bought back for 15 million as well. So you mentioned that before. So. And maybe just to clarify as well, because reading through the press release, I noticed one thing. That's the CVR, the contingent value right. I warned you I'm going to ask you about that. So $2.5 million per 1 million ounce reserves and resources. I just want to make sure, like, what's the baseline we're going to be calculating that off, and to clarify the reserves and resources part, because there is a distinction.
Yeah, it's on both total. There is no reserves on the project right now. It's all a resource. So we started a baseline of 2.4 million, and it's every million ounces that the resource and or eventually reserves grows over a maximum of 20 years, and it's payable, like I said, at the 3. It's designed so that the junior would never pay that, but future minor will.
Okay, no, perfect. I just wanted to clarify that. Some things I stumbled over when I saw the press release that I figured I'd ask you about. So now is the time to come, of course, talk about the future. Once the transaction completes, like, what do you expect in terms of timeline, but also, like, what are your next steps? Like, as you said, you're inheriting the team, so you should be able to hit the ground running once the transaction completes. So what are you planning?
Well, over the next 2 to 3 months, that the transaction and putting the financing into place, and the transaction should close sometime in July. And after that, we take over full operatorship of the project. I think our goal is to drill about 30,000 meters over the next year and a half, and which is 10 times probably what Agnico drilled last year. And really add ounces to the project. In the meantime, we're going to do a lot of marketing awareness that Barsele stock should be repriced here based on going from 45% to 100%. And most of the analysts had us, basically valued us at 30%, because that was the terms of the deal with Agnico. Is once they produced the pre-feas, we were 70-30. So. We should get a big re-rating, and it certainly frees us up to do a deal with anybody right down the future. But the main concern will be to add ounces quickly, and we know where to drill to do that.
No, it puts you square back into the driver's seat, which we love to see here as well. Like, because you were at the receiving end of news as well back in the day, right? So,
Sure.
and now you dictate the news flow, which is great for a junior, right? So I wish you all the best for it. Like Gary, I really appreciate you coming on, giving us an update on the deal terms, on the transaction, what it means for you, and of course some bit of an outlook into the future and next steps, of course. So thanks for coming on, Gary.
Thanks for having me, Kai.
That's great.
Appreciate
Can't
it.
wait to have you back on more often, talk deal terms, what is happening now, like how all the dominoes fall into place. So I'm looking forward to that. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in. This was an SF Live breaking news special. We were joined by Gary Cope. He's president and CEO of Barsele Minerals. They are just about to acquire the remaining 55% of the Barsele project in Sweden from Agnico Eagle. And I'm sure we'll be hearing lots more about the company. If you have any questions, any comments, make sure to leave a comment and a like underneath this video, and don't forget to follow us on YouTube and Twitter, and to turn on that little bell notification as well, as we do all our interviews live. That way you do get notified when we go live with our updates and you don't miss anything. Thanks so much.